Let's start with a brief summary. This article, written by Paul Graham in 2017, states that the tendency of famous scientists to take risks is often overlooked. He discusses not only Newton's physics studies, but also his interest in alchemy and theology, and notes that these were equally valuable and risky for that period. Graham suggests that this situation is often interpreted as smart people going crazy, but in reality, perhaps these situations of intelligence and madness are not that separate from each other. Before we dive in, I want to share a quick note about how this podcast is created. As you've probably noticed, this podcast isn't voiced by a human, but by artificial intelligence. I'm obligated to inform you of this beforehand due to the rules of AI services. This podcast is made possible by our sponsor, Wope.com, an AI startup that combines content marketing with artificial intelligence to significantly boost traffic and revenue of your startups. For all the latest content, be sure to follow me at x.com/yigitkonur. Now let's turn our attention back to the essay. The Impact of Scientists' Perception of Risk on Discoveries. Original title, The Risk of Discovery. Date, January 2017. Because biographies of famous scientists tend to edit out their mistakes, we underestimate the degree of risk they were willing to take. And because anything a famous scientist did that wasn't a mistake has probably now become the conventional wisdom, those choices don't seem risky either. Biographies of Newton, for example, understandably focus more on physics than alchemy or theology. The impression we get is that his unerring judgment led him straight to truths no one else had noticed. How to explain all the time he spent on alchemy and theology? Well, smart people are often kind of crazy. But maybe there is a simpler explanation. Maybe the smartness and the craziness were not as separate as we think. Physics seems to us a promising thing to work on, and alchemy and theology, obvious wastes of time. But that's because we know how things turned out. In Newton's day, the three problems seemed roughly equally promising. No one knew yet what the payoff would be for inventing what we now call physics. If they had, more people would have been working on it. And alchemy and theology were still then in the category Mark Andreessen would describe as huge, if true. Newton made 3 bets. One of them worked, but they were all risky.